Tonight, on To The Point. As hundreds of thousands of Californians struggle to afford homeowners insurance, two major companies request more rate hikes. What this could mean for your bottom line. Plus, a man arrested in connection to a fire that killed a mother and her two children.
The heat streak finally coming to an end. How many records we broke on the way there.
And later, on the back roads, we head to the meeting point of freshwater and saltwater for a kayaking trip at the West Coast's biggest marsh.
Well, we made it to Friday. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and we are staying on top of this dangerous stretch of heat. And we'll have your full forecast coming up in just a moment. But first tonight, two of the state's biggest homeowners insurance companies want to raise rates an average of more than 30%. And we've been reporting on California's growing homeowners insurance crisis for years now, as policies become more expensive and even harder to find. Insurers are pausing or limiting business, citing rising costs and risk. So tonight, ABC 10's Becca Habegger looks into what Allstate and State Farm are asking and what it could mean for homeowners.
Reporting by the San Francisco Chronicle this week reveals Allstate is requesting the largest homeowners insurance rate hike by a major insurer in the past 3 years. The company is asking the California Department of Insurance permission, as it's legally required to do, to raise the cost of homeowners insurance policies an average of about 34%, the department tells ABC 10. But that average represents a huge range across some 350,000 policyholders. Some customers could actually pay less if this plan is approved by as much as 57%. But at least one homeowner's rate would increase by 647%.
Just because they are asking for these rates, number one, it's not going to happen tomorrow. And number two, it has to be approved. Every single part of it has to go through the Department of Insurance.
Insurance expert Carl Sussman of Sussman Insurance Agency says it could be months before the Department of Insurance makes a decision on this request, which, by the way, Allstate originally submitted back in April of 2023. Allstate told the Chronicle, our payments to help California residents recover from accidents and disasters have increased significantly in recent years due to higher repair costs, more frequent and severe weather, and legal system abuse. Allstate's last approved increase was an average of about 4%, and that was back in April of 2023. State Farm, California's largest home insurer, submitted a more recent filing just 2 weeks ago, seeking an average increase of 30% for homeowners insurance, 52% for renters, and 36% for condominium owners.
Interestingly enough, State Farm's request at 30% is slightly different because they are asking for their increase not based on anything other than financial solvency, which is a slightly different process they have to go through.
State Farm says it's working toward its long-term sustainability in California. Rate changes are driven by increased costs and risk and are necessary for State Farm General to deliver on the promises the company makes every day to its customers. The Department of Insurance tells ABC 10 State Farm General's latest rate filings raise serious questions about its financial condition. This has the potential to affect millions of California consumers and the integrity of our residential property insurance market. Using my authority under Prop 103, I will investigate State Farm's financial situation, adding nothing changes today for State Farm policyholders as a result of these filings. We are going to lead with facts to make sure Californians are protected. State Farm's last approved increase was an average of 20%, which went into effect back in March.
As bad as it is to hear about policies and rate increases being submitted, there should also be a part of you that says, okay, there's activity, right? Where there's activity, there's the potential for change.
Change like more insurers returning to do full business in California, which could ultimately lead to more competitive prices.
All right, let's get to our resident expert home insurance leader here at ABC 10. She has been following all of this for you guys. And Becca, I have to ask you, we know that a major deadline is coming up for some policy overhauls, right?
Yeah, as we've reported, California Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara unveiled something called the Sustainable Insurance Strategy back in September. It's a package of proposed regulations that would give insurance companies more and better tools for accurately pricing premiums. And in turn, the department says customers would see a big improvement in the availability of insurance policies and more credit for the work they've done to protect their homes against wildfires. And, Alex, the commissioner says his goal is to get these new regulations in place by the end of the year.
All right, Becca, as always, thank you so much for making us all understand what the heck is going on, because it is a complicated topic.
Very
so thank
complicated.
you very much. All right, let's go ahead and turn now to your weather. Some heat relief is in sight heading into your weekend. Devin will be joining us tonight to explain.
Yeah, Alex, well, today's high turning out to be 111 degrees, so we have tied our record with the temperature, but we've also tied the two-day record of having temperatures over 110 degrees. So we tied the record up here last week, and then we've tied it again with today. Now, the average temperature over the last 12 days has been 106 degrees. So let's take a look at that record. Downtown Sacramento tying the 1990 record, and then Stockton and Modesto breaking their records from 1999. It was 109 in Stockton back then, broke the record. It was 107 in Modesto. Record also shattered for us. So we take a look at that tie for the 2 days, and we're just short of the 11-day and the 7-day record stretch. Now, we do, however, have entered today as the second hottest day of 2024, only beaten out by those 213 days that we experienced earlier. And just a reminder, California State Fair happening right now. So while it's still a little hot and in those triple digits, if you're heading out for dinner at the fair, things will eventually cool down for you, Alex.
All right, Devin, thank you so much. We'll have your full forecast coming up after the break. And there is a new wildfire we are tracking tonight in Placer County. Crews there are battling the Athens fire. It's burning near Western Placer Waste Management along Athens Avenue and Fittiman Road. It's burned more than 260 acres and is 50% contained. Evacuation warnings have been issued for those living around Athens Avenue, Industrial Avenue, and Sunset Boulevard. Tonight, family members of two young missing children are continuing their plea for them to be returned after their mom was found dead just on Monday evening. Please do me a favor. Take a look at your screen right now. Sacramento police say there is a possibility Angelica Bravo's children, 4-year-old Athena Lee and 2-year-old Mateo Lee, were dropped off somewhere in Southern California by their dad, Cameron Lee. On Wednesday, Sacramento police shared Lee's car was seen crossing the Mexico border. CHP has activated an endangered missing advisory. The family is planning to hold a vigil tonight at 8:30 at Federico Beauty Institute in honor of Bravo. A nearly 2-week manhunt A nearly 2-week manhunt is now over in Modesto after police arrested accused triple murderer Jose Cardona. Prosecutors say Cardona, who was in the country illegally, set fire to an RV in Stockton back on June 25th. His 32-year-old girlfriend and 2 of her young kids were inside and they died. A 14-year-old was also inside at the time and was able to escape. The story touched so many people, including one member of the public who reportedly spotted Cardona yesterday afternoon and decided to call police.
The United States Marshal Service Task Force arrested suspect Jose Carmona at a bus station in Modesto, California. He was taken into custody safely and without incident.
Cardona is facing 3 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, 1 count of child endangerment, and 3 special circumstances. He is expected to appear in court in Stockton on Monday. Today, a federal judge ordered a Sacramento man convicted in the January 6 Capitol attacks be released from prison effective immediately. George Riley was sentenced last year to 18 months in prison for obstruction of an official proceeding. Earlier this week, we reported Riley's attorney asked a judge to remove that conviction, citing a recent Supreme Court decision where the justices ruled obstruction of an official proceeding applies more narrowly, such as tampering with evidence in an investigation. Riley's attorney asked a judge to allow him out of prison while that's being decided, and that judge granted the prison release. The question of Riley's conviction is still in a legal battle right now. Next, on To The Point, more than 100 million people's calls and texts exposed in a data breach. What the company involved is saying. Plus, later on the back roads, we take a kayaking trip to the West Coast's biggest marsh. We know there are a lot of events happening around town this weekend. We have the State Fair, Capitol Air Show happening, but there is still a lot happening in our forecast as well. So let's get over to Devin to take a look at the forecast for this weekend.
We have both those events happening on asphalt. So if it's 110 outside, it can be 130 with that heat kind of radiating up into you. But for both of those events, you're allowed to bring your own water as long as it's sealed. So something important to remember as we take a look at the Big Mountain Backyard: 104 in Sac, 107 in Stockton, 108 Modesto, 110 in Marysville, and 90 in Tahoe. We're looking out for a red flag warning taking effect at 5 a.m. tomorrow and going until 9 p.m. on Sunday. Now, this red flag warning is also in part to our dry lightning strikes that we are expected to be impacting us. That's already happening around now all the way through the whole entire weekend. Peak times are going to be from noon till 7 p.m. It's going to be dry lightning, which also has now elevated our fire danger to the highest level. So we're going to recommend that if you're out doing any types of recreation, try to be off those peaks by noon, or at least be mindful of what your evacuation route is should there be a lightning strike and a potential fire. Those lightning strikes most likely going to be coming west of Highway 50, elevating that fire danger. As we take a look, we'll start to see that storm kind of towards Yosemite. Again, most of that you'll get an isolated thunderstorm activity, monsoonal moisture possible, but maybe only just a sprinkle. Whether or not we actually get any rain from this remains to kind of be seen. So let's take a look at temperatures for tomorrow. 98 to Groveland, 101 for Sonora, 102 in Angels Camp, 99 Jackson, 93 in Pollock Pines, 89 in Truckee, 82 in South Lake Tahoe Bay Area. A little bit of cool down from that Delta breeze, 84 in Fairfield, 89 in Rio Vista, 91 in Antioch, 89 in Vacaville. Things overall cooler tomorrow due to some cloud coverage finally coming in. Like Sacramento, 100 degrees, about 11 degrees cooler than what we experienced today. 94 from Elk Grove to Galt, 95 Lodi. Weather impact days in effect until Saturday. That's when that heat expires, and then we have 90s coming into next week. Alex, something to look forward to.
All right, Devin, thanks so much. Next, on To The Point, President Biden back on the campaign trail as he tries to ease concerns about his candidacy. Plus, more than 100 million customers exposed in a data breach. What information the company says was shared. Now to Your Voice, Your Vote. President Joe Biden back on the campaign trail tonight following his high-stakes press conference on Thursday. Despite his efforts to prove he's worthy of 4 more years, critics are still calling on him to drop out.
President Biden heading to a campaign rally in the swing state, Michigan. Biden keeping up the momentum after delivering a solo press conference last night following the NATO summit in Washington.
I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president.
Despite a pair of gaffes, the president first calling Ukrainian President Zelensky Russia's President Putin during the summit.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
And then mixing up Vice President Harris for his GOP rival, Donald Trump.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
The president laughed off those mistakes and went on to tout the resilient economy and defend his foreign policy record.
Have you seen a more successful conference? Find me a world leader who didn't think it was.
Still, a growing number of congressional Democrats continue to call on Biden to drop out of the race. Directly following the press conference, we're told House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries met with the president. In a letter to colleagues, Jeffries says that he expressed the full breadth of insight, heartfelt perspectives, and conclusions about the path forward that the caucus has shared. Jeffries does not say if he told Biden to remain in the race or drop out.
And the president also met with both the Congressional Hispanic and Asian Pacific American caucuses this evening. One member tells ABC News that that call did not go smoothly, saying it went, quote, went off the rails at one point. So far, at least 19 House Democrats have now called on Biden to bow out of the race. A New Mexico judge has dismissed the involuntary manslaughter case against actor Alec Baldwin, the judge citing prejudice-based misconduct of police and prosecutors over the withholding of evidence from the defense in the shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the film Rust. She says the case cannot be filed again. And turning to your price points tonight, AT&T says nearly all of its 110 million wireless subscribers' call and text message records were exposed in a massive data breach. The company had known since April that customer data was illegally downloaded, but made the announcement today. They say the stolen data was from May through October of 2022. It includes every number AT&T customers called or texted, even customers of other wireless networks, the number of times they interacted, and the call duration. They say it does not contain the content of the calls, texts, or personal information like social security numbers or birth dates. And the company also says it does not believe the data is publicly available. And new tonight, a Patelco customer has filed a class action lawsuit against the company, citing its failure to properly secure and safeguard members' information. It comes nearly 2 weeks after the credit union experienced a ransomware attack. Tonight, some of the company's services remain unavailable, and they say that the networks are stable and they are expecting to complete transaction processing by the end of the weekend, which will allow them to restore banking systems with balances. They have not yet provided an exact date of when those services could return. And it's Friday, so it's time for another trip on the back roads. Tonight, John Bartel takes us on a kayak ride to do a little bird watching.
For most people, the coffee-colored waters of the Suisun Marsh are just a body of water you pass by on the way to the San Francisco Bay Area. But to James Burge, this marsh is so much more.
Water for me, and I believe a lot of people after they experience it, is calming. It's good for the soul, good for the mind, kind of de-stress, and just kind of connect yourself with nature.
James runs Grizzly Waters Kayaking out of Suisun City, an intimate and sometimes windy tour of the largest estuary west of the Mississippi.
Suisun means west wind, literally, so the Suisunni Indians are people of the west wind.
Unlike a swamp, a marsh generally doesn't have trees to break the wind, but in the case of the Suisun Marsh, tule reeds do the job.
Yeah, so these guys are called tules, T-U-L-E. They're native plants to the area, and they were used from everything from shelters to baskets to even duck decoys.
The Suisun Marsh spans a little over 110,000 acres. The brackish water here is a mix of fresh water from the California Delta that collides with the Pacific Ocean, attracting a diverse range of birds.
Yeah, we have a lot of shorebirds, egrets, herons, and at any time we have over 200 species of birds, especially the migratory season. During the winter, we'll get birds from the Arctic coming down.
On James's 2-hour kayak tour, you'll learn how the marsh is always changing as the tide from the ocean pushes water back and forth over higher ground in the marsh.
So we have so much water built up here, it's got to come out, and it comes out as a rapid and waterfall. At high tide, it does the opposite sometimes.
Kayaking or boating is pretty much the only way to see these small waterfalls because the ground that surrounds it is not solid.
You don't want to get stuck in this stuff here.
It's a pretty thick stuff. You don't want to be walking in it.
The thick mud is actually an important part of the ecosystem. James says the movement of the water cleans impurities out of the sediment, like mercury from the gold rush in the 1800s.
So this is sort of the filtering process.
Exactly, yep. These new plants here, tules and some reeds are coming in. They're taking hold of the soil, holding it in place, and it's filtering the contaminants and creating a good ecosystem.
The Suisun Marsh is on the mend right now. James says early settlers built levees around high spots on the marsh and attempted to grow crops or create duck hunting areas.
And they thought it would be a great spot, but with the salt water, it doesn't help grow crops, unfortunately.
For decades, farming and hunting land prevented natural filtration in the water, but recent restoration efforts are underway.
So the restoration is a process of where they're taking closed farmland or duck clubs and giving it back to nature.
It may look like a murky body of water, but the Suisun Marsh is an important wildlife ecosystem and an unlikely playground in the Bay Area.
Just endless paddling. Every time I come out here, it's a different experience. I've seen wildlife from sea lions, fish jumping into people's kayaks, so it's always something different. It's an amazing experience.
From the Suisun Marsh, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads.
Those views, I love it. Now it's your turn. If you have something you think would be a great road trip destination, make sure you let John know all about it. Just text your idea to 916-321-3310. And we're back after this short break with some things to do this weekend. The weekend is finally here. We made it to Friday, and if you were looking for some fun things to do, there are some big events happening. So happening right now in Sacramento is the California State Fair. It'll be open until 10 p.m. every day through July 28th. Admission is $14 for adults, just $10 for kids ages 5 to 12, and then kids 4 and under, they get in for free. And then seniors 62 and over get in for $12. And they are ready for the heat this year. There are 4 cooling stations, misting stations, and AC in many of the buildings. And happening in Roseville, the big boy number 44 team steam locomotive is on display near Vernon Street Square. Tomorrow, the city will have food trucks, performances, and live music in the town square from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Admission to see the big boy is free. The locomotive will also make short stops in Loomis, Colfax, and Truckee on Sunday. Get outside, enjoy it, but just make sure you're safe, drink your water, and be smart. I'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.